Hello, everybody. Today, I wanted to talk about The Boys Season 4, Episode 5. Warning, spoilers ahead. Now's your time to leave. For those of you that have stayed, I wanted to talk about one scene that I thought was very enigmatic of The Boys. It kind of captures something about The Boys that everybody loves. And this is the scene where Huey's father passes away. And his father is played by Simon Pegg, who you might recognize, very famous British actor. And I want to juxtapose it with another scene in this episode, which was A-Train's theatrical trailer for his movie. Now, in his movie, Will Ferrell plays like one of the main characters. And of course, the whole thing is a wink and a nod to the audience, because we know that this movie is tripe. It is trash. And Will Ferrell is a perfect person to play the sort of cheesy main character here, because Will Ferrell, we all know, has a way of delivering lines that are seemingly real, but are heavily and dripping with irony and satire. But instead, he says, hey, it would be great to go to Paris. And then Huey, in response, says, yeah, we could go on a tour. They have a tour for the Da Vinci Code. Now, this is a throwback to earlier in the episode, where the father mentioned that he wanted to go to Paris, the three of them, and do the Da Vinci tour, the Da Vinci Code tour. He's had some memory issues during this episode. So again, in a loving moment, Huey says, yes, it would be great to go to Paris. We could go on that Da Vinci tour code. And then the father says, oh, that would be great. Imagine going in all those places where Tom Hanks. And that's when he passes away. And it's right after the I love you moment. So it's not like the emotional weight has changed, but that little note just makes the scene hit differently. It brings an element of comedy to it that is spot on for The Boys. You know exactly what I'm talking about, right? Like, the last moment now is not the I love you back and forth, but rather this idea of going on a very silly tour of the Da Vinci Code and going to the same places as Tom Hanks. And those are his last words. And again, this is what's great about The Boys. Huey and his life is not cinematic. It is not, cut by Vought and turned into propaganda, versus A-Train. Again, the idea of him being a high school track athlete on the wrong side of the road, with Will Ferrell giving him those lines, those perfect cinematic cues, right? The juxtaposition there is super obvious. And I think a lot of people missed that moment. I mean, it is funny, so to speak, that he, and it's a callback, because earlier in the show, there was this idea of going to Paris and doing that Da Vinci tour. And the father is having some memory issues. So when he brings up Paris, Huey, in a moment of love, again, brings up that tour, because he knows that his father wants to do that tour. He talked about it earlier. But it's just sort of funny and sad that you can't give Huey that moment with his father where the last things they say to each other are, I love you. Instead, it has to be this pop culture moment of referencing the Da Vinci Code and Tom Hanks. And I just love the juxtaposition between that and some of the theatrical things that Vought puts out, which are very mediated, very false. And I think that is one of the fundamental points of The Boys. And I thought this captured it perfectly. So, as always, if you like sort of highlighting scenes like this, like and subscribe. We're growing. Huzzah!